one seat versus all 7. When you shift from 2,500 residents to more than 2,500, you have to add 2 more council members, because there's 5 council members prior to that. And then it mentions right in the RCW that the first election will be for a 2- and 4-year term at that election. But what's weird about that is that the default, of course, is 4, but it says at that election it shall be a 2- and 4-year term.
Right.
And it probably was just perpetuated from that
Right,
point
and
on.
then, so that, it wasn't when the form was set up, it was
Right.
when you changed. So similar concept to what Don was saying, but
Yeah.
thank you for that. So that is,
Love easy
we've
wins.
sleuthed that. That's exactly what happened, I bet. So, anyway,
We don't need to go.
Yeah,
We'll reconvene in September.
no, I like it.
Don't let that take out your meeting. I mean, that's what I got.
that's the most productive.
I've seen our code book, it's big.
Wow, something soft like that. Really excited.
And I didn't think about this, but I don't know if the discussion in the wake of our meeting on the 30th around your own rules, if that's actually something that that committee should take a look at. If there's changes that are proposed, would you want your committee to vet that in more detail potentially?
We just threw you back into the meeting. John, anything else?
That's it. Molly?
Actually, I was just going to say, make a comment on the farmer's market. I know I've been going down there for the last couple of weeks to do one thing or another, but this week was especially interesting. I think they're doing a very good job. The farmer's market is small, but the vendors that they have are appropriate and they're friendly, and there is a lot of produce, both fruit and vegetables down there. They have something unique at every week. And this week especially, it just had the feel of being a community event, and people kind of lingered, both when they drove past, and then you'd see some of them, turn and find a parking space, and when they were walking through, just kind of wandering and talking to people and meeting people. So I have no idea if they've broken even yet, certainly not in regard to the amount of time and energy that they've put in, but it does seem to be gaining some momentum, so I'm really happy to see that. And Jennifer, I'm sorry your chickens didn't win. Had a beautiful hen contest this last Saturday.
We love them anyway.
Paul?
I'll just underline what Molly said. The market this Saturday felt the way I think a market should feel, which it hasn't before. It was struggling before, and it seems like at least last weekend it came together, which is very gratifying.
Well, hopefully this weekend we'll put a lot more people down around it that maybe don't remember that it's there, and have a little boost from here on out.
Other than that, I had a pretty quiet week.
Michael?
Nothing too much to report from here. I spent all last week just flying a whole bunch, but other than that, nothing to report.
Jennifer? Ron?
Two things. Chief, did all the volunteers pass this last weekend?
We had to cancel the final test because the crews were activated to Walla Walla for the fire over there. They moved over there, people that were going to give the test. So it's going to be another couple of weeks before they.
But right now, it looks like we've got 10 volunteers coming on, that'll be passing their training? 9. So that's a good thing. That's the first time we've had a class that big, and it's a completely new training class this time around. Firefighter Castle and Firefighter Stegman have been running it, and it's significantly different than the guys have had in the past. I think they're coming out very well trained with things we've seen from them. And in fact, they're trained well enough, even though they haven't got their last test done. Chief has allowed them to enter structures and burning structures if we have one. Thank God we don't. But they're ready to roll, so they're doing very well. I talked with an individual. I go down to the flying field in the mornings once in a while. A buddy of mine flies airplanes down there. And one of the guys that's down there flying lives on Shepherd Road, and we all received an email from him about the parking at Shepherd Road. And I talked to Trevor a little bit before the meeting tonight, and I'm gonna actually have a public safety meeting and talk with the chiefs, but I wanna at least throw it on the table about what do we wanna do about restricting parking over there? You know, we end up with, we have a little tiny park that's got so many people in it that he asked me this morning, is there a number limit in our community parks? I don't believe there's a number, and how would we go down and enforce it? But we may have to reinforce it by restricting parking on Shepherd Road. And so how we get there, Chief, put a notice that says we're gonna tow you from here on out after, a month, or I don't know how we're gonna get there, but we have to, the neighbors are having to face backing out, not being able to see. I think we've all been put on notice that if there's an accident over there, that the troops will come out in mass and tell us, like they have on 32nd Street, that, if there's an accident out there, I'm gonna come up and testify. So I think we've been put on notice. And so collectively, I'd like to have everybody kind of give any ideas they might have about that, but it looks like that some form of no parking on the side of the street, is my opinion, is one way of restricting that number. Shepherd Road is a very small park, and there's just no parking there. And it's better parking now than it was before all that work was done, but.
John?
What's the arrangement? I know that the bowling alley and the skate park and Camas, but is there any kind of arrangement we can have with that parking lot and that crosswalk, and then have that crosswalk and?
Well, there's no sidewalks, you got people walking down the street that, it's a narrow road.
And maybe that's the other piece of the puzzle, I don't know, I mean, obviously, there's no place that we can put another parking lot over there, but that's a very popular park. and
Well,
it's-
there is, if we wanted to buy a corner lot and they were willing to sell it, there's one that folks already park in that,
Yep.
that just mowed down this last week. You're right, it's a tough dilemma. When we lived up by the new Camas High School, and the subdivision, everything was there prior to the school going in, and when the school went in, they knew when they were building their parking lots that they were gonna restrict the number of kids that could drive and park on school grounds. And, it only took about a nanosecond to be able to say, okay, so for all those you're not gonna allow to park there, they're gonna be parking over here instead, and it was a mess for a while, but, it might be, I know, Chief, you've been talking with Jack quite a bit when we get his emails, and even the other day, we got another one, and by the time Chief had called him, one of the officers had already been down there.
And he appreciates that, let me pass that on.
Issued 7 tickets by the time we even knew that he was down there. I know, Trevor, you had brought up on 32nd Street to possibly look at 32nd Street as a safety corridor, to try and do some things in the meantime.
Yeah, we've recently reduced the speed limit out there, because that was a urban collector, or rural went to urban, so it was 35, and it got reduced to 25, I think, late last fall. So that was the first assessment that the city engineer took a look at. So that's helped. It's mitigated to a certain extent, but yeah, we'll have upwards of 100 vehicles parking on the fog line, both sides of the road, all along that stretch from Seventh Day Adventist all the way up to Caliendo Hills, the subdivision to the east, or I don't know what they call it now,
And the
but
church certainly blocks off theirs because they've got vacation school and stuff that happens in there in the summertime.
But apparently 25 miles an hour is the new 50 mile an hour out on Shepherd Road, so it's a tough one. But
Joanne?
At one time, there was negotiations with the Seventh-day Adventist Church